talk show is brought to you by...
Hey, want to feel young again? Are you tired, run down, have aches and pains, brain fog? This is science-based, not hype or fancy marketing. It really works. Carbon 60 helps detoxify your body on the cellular level. It stabilizes free radicals, just like the antioxidants found in red wine and berry stew, but on a far smaller, more bioavailable nanoscale. It's like a bottle of electrons, helping your body to function better. You can also apply it on your skin topically, over muscles, joints, or organs. Most people feel results within minutes. This is not a drug. It's organic carbon. Feel better today. About 95% of our users report more energy and clarity of mind within 10 days. Give us a call at Greska's Carbon 60 at 720-600-6040 or visit our site at c-60.com. Call 720-600-6040 and feel young again.
Folks, welcome back to the iHealth channel, the FinFab channel, High Health Radio with your host, Hurricane H. Today's topic, today's guest is going to take us into a journey, and we're going to enjoy this. I want to have fun today. And really, it's something we're going to talk about nutrition, talk about fitness, mindset. And these are all things that I think everybody watching and listening, and if you watch any of the shows or listen to my stuff, it's always about mindset, about positivity, and just inspiration, motivation, which is part of our mission. Our guest today is going to do just that, and we're going to talk about how he literally transformed his life, and he's helping other people to do the same. I have a young gentleman, and I want to stress that because it is a fact, and it is something that is inspiring, because for the youth out there, by the way, there's no age thing, it's he caters to everybody. But the idea is that for this particular gentleman that I have with me today, it is going to be a true motivation for people. So without any further ado, I have with me David Misano. David, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's such an honor to be on, because it's been a minute. I've been looking forward to this one for so long.
Well, listen, same here. And you know what? And as I was trying to highlight the age piece, because listen, I have kids, and I want my kids to be inspirational, motivational, to others. And part of what we do is we want that. And it warms up my heart literally to know that there are people that are at the younger age doing things, making a difference, and putting a legacy in place. And I've had so many successes, in different shows, different age groups, and different I guess time frames in their lives. But really, it's always exciting to have someone who is in your capacity, and really, I am excited about that. So that's just me, getting a little funny about it. But that's the dad that always feels like cool about kids that are out there. And by the way, again, I've been in martial arts, and I've trained younger people, and I've trained also as a young person, and it's always that link. It's something that you feel good about. It's a vibe. I don't know if you sensing any of this yet. Watching or listening right now, you're gonna get this vibe. But here's the kickoff. David, you're one of 18. Now, that's not something we hear about all the time, at least not in the West. Well, maybe I may be wrong, guys. I think we're going to go into where that comes from. But so here's the challenge. You're one of 18. I'm one of one. so this is interesting. Now, here's the funny part. I come from a culture where one of 18 is common, because my dad is one of 12.
Oh, wow. Holy moly.
Yeah. So it's like a very contrasted, concept today that we're going to have. And it's funny because, when I was a kid, typically people you're from Morocco. I mean, you guys have a lot of, you're Arabs, you're Muslims, you have kids. Yeah, I guess my parents didn't get the memo. I don't know. They decided on one, but they were realistic. I mean, one is good, they'll take care of one properly as opposed to have many and suffer. Sometimes, let's call it what it is. It's tough when you have a lot of kids, right? I mean, I have 3, and trust me, it's not a picnic. It's hard. But you're I mean, one of 18. I mean, That's not very common in the States or in the Northern American or even in the West in general. I mean, there are countries right now that are suffering because they don't have enough kids. I mean, their pyramid is basically, getting older, and eventually they're not going to have enough, replacements. So, so let's start there first because I want to learn this, and I know there's something about a cult, and I want to leave it at that. Because it sounds interesting and intriguing, and I'm gonna leave it at that. I want you to tell us a little bit about that journey.
Yeah. So, well, one of 18, as you can imagine, it's definitely a story in and of its own. I was gemmed and blessed enough to even be a part of that big of a family. I don't think you realize that until you get older. You start to realize the memories and the bonds that you had, and that isn't a normal thing, and that you can create some of the best memories that you could possibly ever build in your life. And so it was 11 boys plus me is 11 boys, and 7 girls. And growing up in that environment, you were never alone. You never had time to yourself. You can never be quiet. You always were brought out of your shell. And these things kind of built up good habits in me for who I was going to be later on in life. I think it taught me one of the biggest things that I'm always thankful for is that it taught me how to be out there, be talkative, be networking with other people and build yourself up and meet people. Don't be afraid to talk and meet new people. And then the other thing it taught me too is just to be a hard worker. We grew up poor. It was a family of 18, dead broke. We didn't have no money. And I think that was the big joy about it, though, is you don't have money, so you have to learn how to create it at such a young age. And I mean, we didn't have anyone to really tell us, but we were so ambitious to learn how you can make extra money so we can go get these new shoes or we can go get these new clothes. And we were always the hand-me-down family. So next school year came, you got your older brother's hand-me-downs, you gave your hand-me-downs to your younger brother. That's how it went for so long. And I'm the second youngest, and I'm 23. I think the oldest now is I think he just turned 47. Don't quote me on that. It's a large gap. But that was like, I think growing up in such a poor family, it taught us to bond, learn how to create. And I think that's one of the key things that I'm so thankful about is the creativity that came from it. We learned how to create games. We learned how to create activities. And no matter where we went, we were able to create an environment that was full of passion and just bloomed the entire room into passion and just all around good vibes. And I think people really realize that about our family, is that instead of being stuck in a video or being stuck in a movie, even today, like we're literally all like that. Most of my brothers are. You try and watch a movie, none of them are going to sit there to watch the whole movie. We're either going to start a conversation or we're going to start playing around with you, and we're literally going to have a good time. And we try to, I think that was a habit that was created into us, that we wanted it to be that way. It's just we had no TV when we were young. We didn't have money, and we had to learn how to have fun. And our biggest way was just going outside, whether it was catching crawdads, whether it was going to play baseball with wooden bats that we couldn't even afford a real bat, going to play tackle football in the dirt, things like this. It was like these little memories. You hated it when you were young because you're like, oh man, but as you grow up, you're like, man, that was cool. So you have all these memories, and it always relinquishes with you and stays with you for the rest of your life. But as you start to grow up, you start to go further and further away from your family. We also grew up in a cult. I call it a cult because there were a few things, and I didn't realize it until I got older, but they had separated us from the world. And they said that the people in this church were basically going to go to heaven and the rest of the world was going to be going to hell. And in this church, there were probably like 50 members in like 37 states out of the 50. And that's like barely anyone. And I'm like, there's no way all these people are about to go to a place you guys say is burning full of fire and just get tortured. It's like, I've seen better people out there in the world than you guys are. And that's kind of where I realized, like, this is kind of a cult. One of the other things too is that we got held to the point where if you didn't worship God, you would go to hell. Like, that was one thing that they put into us at a young age, is if you don't worship God, if you don't go to get baptized, you have the possibility of, not even the possibility, they would say you're going to hell. Like, even if you were their son or daughter, they would say it straight to your face, like it was very nonchalant, and they would believe in it. And like you have that fear stuck in you the entire time growing up. And that was a big part of what drove me to get away from that church. I never wanted to be like that, because not only were they like that, they were very contradictory. They would say that they lived this lifestyle of God and things like that, but yet when you really look at their lifestyle, there's bickering, strife, unhappiness in the home. Children and parents, their relationships were off, and all around, money was the other thing. You are not allowed to make over a certain salary in that church, and if you do, it's considered a sin. And because money is the root of all evil. And instead of looking at it as a blessing, that was the biggest question that I had when I was in that church, is like, why can we not make money? And one thing that me and my family had did a little digging, because none of us went into that church. And we finally figured out that there's actually a head of that church. And he's the one that's getting all the money from the church. And there's two of them. They're called evangelists, and basically they go around the churches. The church pays for them to travel, and they go around these churches like preaching like, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that, and to go to heaven, like, don't go out and play basketball, don't go out and play football, don't go to a bar and drink, and things like this. But then we finally figured out, after doing some research on their lives, they were going to fishing tournaments. They had these fat mansions, not just houses, mansions, while all the rest of the congregations were suffering and told not to make money. And then on top of that, they were having these exquisite freaking parties all the time. And it's like, and none of them, and still to this day, that church exists. And my parents are a part of it, and I'm not very close with them because of that. And they don't want to accept that fact. But that's kind of what we grew up in, and it was it held you to a limited mindset that you couldn't make money, that if you didn't go to church, you would go to this place called hell, things like this. And a lot of the kids suffered. There were many of the kids that committed suicide because they were torn by this. You go into the outside world and it's like an entirely different environment. But other than that, growing up, I was glad that I had 18 family members, because we were able to keep each other up and hold each other accountable and push each other to the limits.
I'm sorry, man. I'm listening to you. It's unbelievable. I mean, this is not something you see or hear about all the time. This is something you probably see in movies. And I mean, but it is real. And we're in the States. I mean, by the way, there's different types of religions out there that claim these things. But specifically, I mean, understanding that this is a specific group that claims that everybody else is off, and it's their way or the highway, as you say. By the way, most of religions have similarities in the way it's done, and there is a way to paradise, there's a way to hell, and most of the religions will agree to that, but not in the same way that you stated. I mean, it's like, ours and versus the others, and so on and so forth. I mean, that's a whole different show we can talk about, but just your experience as a kid growing in this environment, and especially when you see the contradiction, right? And the double standard, like, you can't have money, but then you have lavish, lifestyles here, and then the congregation is suffering because money is root of evil. But where do you get all that stuff? It's through money. And technically, religion does not. It's not against money. As a matter of fact, you're supposed to work, you're supposed to provide, you're supposed to do all these things. And if you have more, you give. Charity is part of religion. And that's just the standard concept, which, again, to your point, if you go out of that system into the real world, as different religions out there, they're very similar in the way that charity is part of, what we do in general. And it's interesting and I'm not sure if it is a cult, really called cult, but you refer to it as such. But it sounds like it, because I mean, typically that's how cults are. They're like very unique. It's unbelievable. Well, and it is sad to hear that there were people that lost their life because of the feelings that they had based on this upbringing, and eventually they committed suicide at a young age. That's always a saddening thing to hear, because suicide is not something we want to hear about, especially whether you're old or young, it doesn't matter. Taking your personal life, taking any life for that matter, is wrong, right? But losing a life based on losing faith in the world that you live in, and it's really heartening. But it is what it is. And but I love what you said about your story and your family. And by the way, it is, I'm going to take a moment just to talk about that, because not everybody is rich, and the majority of people are not rich. By the way, this. Unfortunately, that's the world we live in, right? There's a few that have, some. There's a few that have quite a bit, and the rest, they just live day in day out, right? They try to make ends meet, and it's tougher as you have more siblings and the family is big. I mean, I told you one person, and that was a tough one. Imagine when you have 18, forget about it, right? You got to do a lot of stuff. But you said you didn't have much, but yet you had happiness. You were happy. You made do, and that's something that sometimes goes to that concept where money does not bring happiness. You can have money, buy great things, beautiful things. It can make life easier, but would never make you happy, because you can have money and still be sad. And you said we didn't have TV, but you made games. You did things. It didn't stop you. So you really lived the world. At how it's been, all along. I mean, recently we're more into this world of like, the haves and how much do you have, and what you wear, what brand do you have. If you're not wearing, a signature logo or something, it could be like, you're not there. So it became, and by the way, I'm not against, you can have what you want. If you can afford things, enjoy your life. Life is, very short, then why not? But do the right thing. Give charity, do the stuff, enjoy. Because again, live the moment, and if you can do right by you and your family and others, why not? So I'm on the opposite of that, the concept where you can't do anything, you can't have all you want, but also don't forget there are poor people and you're supposed to share your wealth and things like that, and that's great. It's in my belief, and it's my system. But the idea is that did not stop you from having a life, and of enjoying your time and kind of growing up. I mean, that's pretty intense. I mean, your example right now, if we talk to other kids in your age group, they're probably like, huh, you didn't have TV, you didn't have this, you couldn't do this, you do. Because a lot of people, they have everything from early on, and they don't see that, and they might not even think it exists in this world, at least not in the States. I mean, again, this is a worldwide show. I know there are people around the world that don't have similar situations and today, because they're poor. I mean, poverty does exist, and there's more poverty out there than people think. And but you don't think about it in the States specifically, or no, in the Western world, because we are supposed to be more advanced. We have more money. We have this. We have that. But it's not the case all the time. And you're telling us this story is really just an enforcement to the idea that if we travel around, you're gonna find that most of the time than less, you're gonna find people who are struggling, and the struggle is real, as they say, right? But you did not allow that to stop you. Now, there are a few things you did. One of them is you went to the military, or the Marines, I'm assuming. So let's talk about that. Was that part of like your coping with the situation, or was it just something that you did?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I went after, I think I left home. Yeah, I was 17 when I left home. I was done. I didn't want to deal with it anymore. My parents were going through such separation because of it. But I knew I had started, me and my little brother were the last ones in the house. And I had started going into vices. I didn't go into anything crazy. It was more so weed and alcohol, which I wanted to shut out the sadness. I wanted to shut out the turmoil. And that was kind of my way of getting away. But I knew deep down inside of me, I knew that I wanted to be better. And I knew in order to be better, I didn't know a single person that was getting drunk and high every night to become the successful person that they were. And I looked at exemplary people like Abraham Lincoln, Warren Buffett, people like this, Elon Musk. And I looked at these people and I was like, I don't see them doing this. So I don't think this is a part of that journey. And I knew that I had to get rid of that. And I had finally, none of my family knew that I was smoking or drinking at such a young age. And when they finally did, one of my sisters, she very much cared for me. And she asked one of my sisters that lived in Vegas if she would be willing to take me out there and finish high school, away from all the drama, away from all that stuff, and just focus on high school. And it was a tough decision, but I knew in order to get to where I wanted to be, I would have to make a tough decision. And that was the first one. I decided to leave my entire family and leave on my own at 17 years old. going out away from that church, and it was scary. But I knew in order to get rid of those vices, I would have to put something in its place to kind of close that gap, is what I call it, and kind of get those voices out of my head and kind of be at peace with myself. And that's when fitness came into my life. Not so much nutrition. I didn't care about that yet. It was just fitness, lifting heavy weight and going to the gym. And that's kind of where the turning point was. I failed my ninth grade in high school. I was not the greatest student. I was a class clown, but I knew I had the ability to be a straight A student. I just didn't care. I didn't have any, and that saying that any attention is good attention is so true, because any attention at that point was good attention. And we weren't really getting any, so I moved straight to that. I wanted attention, so I got it from schoolmates. And after that, I kind of decided, like, I have to create a friend group. If I want to feel and have the right mindset that I need to get to the end point, being successful, being able to help people in this world, I'm going to need a friend group. So I started, as soon as I went to Vegas, I started just befriending people with the same type mindset that I had, got into the gym, and they started focusing on getting good grades. And I went from a straight F student to a straight A student. And I had when I was failing in ninth grade, I finished high school with a 3.8 GPA just from starting to lift. Everything exponentially grew. And that's one of the things that I learned, is that weightlifting taught me that you're going to have to go through things that the struggle of pain and going through struggling, not wanting to go to the gym. But when you push past those points, you see the joy of growth. And that's where I seen all the change in my life. And I realized that weightlifting, it's not the actual destination that's the fun part. It's the journey, the hard days where you don't want to go to the gym. It's the hard days when you don't want to wake up and do your homework. It's the hard days where you're so lazy after getting out of school and going straight into your homework or studying or spending time with your family instead of sitting with your face stuck in a phone. And it's those times where it creates the true journey that feels fulfilling. And then after high school, I didn't really have anyone guiding me. So I had a sister that reached out to me, and she said that I should try out college. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I wanted to just go straight into the Marine Corps because I wanted a challenge. And I knew the Marine Corps was they were the hardest branch, and I knew they would give me a challenge that I wanted. And I decided, I was like, okay, let me give college a try out. Maybe I'll see how that is. And then I tried college, but it was just college work in the gym. And I was like, I don't feel any type of fulfillment here. There's nothing here. And I was all by myself still. So I decided at that moment, I was like, I want to join the Marine Corps. And I knew they would give me the tools and the habits and the structure to build that man that I needed to be successful one day and create a better world and help people out and make people the person they actually want to be, instead of always being what other people want them to be. And that's one of the things that I learned, is that everyone has an amazing potential with them. There's something inside of them that they give that adds to any group. And that's one thing that I learned as a leader, is that you aren't there to give people orders. You're there to let that person's skills shine. And you're there to show them that they have the skills that are different than everyone else. And that's kind of where my my career in the Marine Corps started. And I actually ended early because I got medically discharged. I was a year in and got medically discharged. So it wasn't a long phase. And that kind of led to a hard time in my life too. I love the Marine Corps. I wanted to go very far with them. But because of the medical discharge, I was devastated and I lost everything. I lost my home. I lost my job. I lost all my friends. I lost everything. And that's kind of where the hard time of my life kind of really was created. And I had a decision there. It was a very hard decision. It was, you can lounge in your sadness, or you can and this was at the age of 21. I had to move back home to live with my family. And I didn't really want to do that because it felt like I was taking a step backwards. And I was like, man, I don't want to do this, but I have to. So I'm going to have to make the best of it. And I remember it took me an entire year of just contemplating, like, what is the point of life? And I had to go back into school, went back to a 9 to 5. And I was like, I went from enjoying my life, doing really cool stuff with some pretty awesome people from all across the country and serving my country and feeling a purpose, and to working at a Starbucks store and being told like, oh, you're a horrible person for serving our country. Like, you're just a part of the problem, things like this. So you go from being respected to disrespected all day long. And then you go to a school where you don't even know what you really want to go to school for. And it's like, man, what is the point of this? What am I here for? And at that point, it really got to me. It was like, I took a whole year of just contemplating, like, what is my purpose here? And then I had gotten a call from a Marine or a Navy recruiter, and it had given me a spark, an idea. I was like, man, maybe I can get back into the military. And I talked to him, and he had said, yeah, there's opportunities. I always wanted to be a special forces in the special forces unit. And I was like, man, maybe this can be my opportunity to be a Navy SEAL. And at that point, I was like, I knew I needed training to get to that point of like fitness, my peak fitness level. And that's where CrossFit was inhibited into my life. I called up the local CrossFit gym, and I was like, hey, this is what I need. Can you give me the tools to get to this point? And he was like, yeah, we have everything you need. So I went to the gym and I did my first workout, and I knew I was in for a ride. I was like, yeah, this is not about to be easy. But after that, CrossFit kind of gave me a purpose again. I saw my entire life change. It went from always being a pessimistic person, always being down, like this is happening to me, to, man, I enjoy life. What can I do for life? What can I give? How can I create this person in order to help other people? And I was able to start changing lives, and I started thinking life was happening for me instead of against me. And that's where magic starts to happen. Confucius once said that watch your thoughts, they become action words. Watch your words, they become actions. Actions becomes habits, habits a lifestyle, and then a lifestyle becomes your what is the word? It starts with an L, your legacy. And all of that stems from a thought. So when you start to change your perspective and your mindset on what you think of life, the rest of your life will change. And that's where I really started to learn to start putting the mindset out, the energy that I wanted out there into the world, and start creating a better person that can give to people. And that's why I come on podcasts, because now I have a story, and I know there's people out there that don't like to share their story that would love to hear this. So that's why I feel like it's my duty now to give the person my very best to everyone. And now I've found my purpose, and that's to give everyone the very best version of themselves out to the world.
I gotta take a deep breath, man. It's quite a you throwing so much at me here. But here's the thing. First of all, I have to say this. You know, for someone who's 23, you've gone through a lot in a very short time. I mean, some of us will probably have a similar story, but over an extended period of time, going up and down. You had so many ups and downs in that short period of time, but in that same time, there's so much positivity in what you've experienced that we're gonna break down right now. First things first, you talked about how you failed not grade, but yet you went from the Fs to the A's, and to get a 3.8, right? That in itself tells people that yes, you can have a bad start point, okay, but don't give up that or think that it's the end. That say there's no way of return. There is a point of return, and you will be able to do it. You're a good example of that, and many examples out there. So again, hope is always there. It's always available, and no matter how bad the situation is. By the way, that applied to you over and over in this time frame that you've had, and many other things that occurred as you stated. But just we're starting at that point. That's a younger person who is really just slacking off and not taking care of business. Smart, but you're not doing things right, because I mean that's the other thing. This doesn't, I mean, someone who's maybe failing classes doesn't mean they're not smart. They're just not applying. And that's two different things. You have the smartness, and I think everybody has the intellect. It's just a matter of applying and taking that intellect and bringing it up. and utilizing it properly and applying it and eventually get the results that you want. And so some people are like, well, I'm not that smart. First of all, like, I love what you said. Don't say things because they become you. Whatever you say, it's you. If you say I'm not good, you're gonna start thinking that you're not good, and it's gonna just give you a whole different run in the wrong direction. You want to be, I'm great, I can do this, always positive. Again, that's the mindset. You gotta pump it up. But that started young, and then you also, your sister was able to switch you over to Vegas, I guess, to with the other one, and that also helped. But then you got into you were gonna get into some, I guess, light stuff, I would call it. light activities, right? And not so healthy activities that eventually could have turned out worse. But I love what you said, that you looked at some of the people in history, current and historic, and these guys didn't get there doing this. And so that tells me, and if it doesn't say anything to you folks who are watching and listening, that you were thinking, you're using your mind, you're constantly analyzing the situation, and that's a practice that should be there. You always have to ask questions like, what is that going to mean for me? Is it going to do stuff? Is our success people get into this? And matter of fact, if you're into the success mode and you like inspiration and motivation and you watch shows that are relevant to this, you will always notice that successful people have certain traits and certain practices. And they're definitely not in the practice of weed and drugs and the fun stuff that we think it's fun. They are in a different fun. They get to enjoy more fun because they eventually get enough money to buy the things that make fun happen a lot faster and more in a more luxurious way. So it's that kind of thing. But you did think that way, and we just want to drive that point home that, folks, doesn't matter where you are, what your lifestyle is, what your background is. I mean, the story that we're hearing today just tells you, here's a dude that has all the circumstances that can be completely off, yet he is learning from them. He is adjusting as he goes and still questioning himself to do better. And he wants to do better. And he has been struggling and striving at the same time, but yet succeeding eventually. And so that's an important message for our audiences. And, again, I just wanted to extract that from your point, or at least, some of the stuff you said. Then I love what you said. You wanted the structure of the Marines and, to get something that is solid. Unfortunately, that didn't work because of a medical condition. And so, but it can happen to anyone. That's the other thing. Like, you don't know, you think you're invincible, but something as simple as your health can fail at a moment and things can go wrong. But again, that didn't stop you. See, that's the other thing. Now you get this discussion on the Navy. Okay, I want to be special forces. Now, these guys are the hardcore folks. I mean, they're not, they're really top at the top in their line of whatever they do. They're very, very, tough people. I mean, you got to admire the work they go through and the intensity to get to that. And you don't get there unless you put a lot of time and effort and energy and sweat and blood and all the other stuff, right? But you wanted that. And so now you got introduced to CrossFit, which, by the way, it is a type of fitness that is very intense. And so for anyone that can handle it, I mean, first of all, there's no age limit to this, but it's pretty intense. You got to be really super, able, because they put you through, boot camp every day, basically. But you also, like, fitness was your model, you basically your mode of escape. Your fitness has been your motivation. Your fitness has been the driver behind you, and it's been helping you shift, to a better place, regardless of how bad, things happen. It put you right back. So now that we've established this, now you got into this world, then eventually now you have the triple V fitness. So I want to read it. I want to see if I said it right. So VENI, VIDI, VICI. Did I say it right?
That's perfect. Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, so the triple V fitness. So let's talk about that. What is it? How did it happen? Is it linked to the CrossFit? Is it, I mean, we need to know more about that.
Yeah. So Triple V started, after my little episode of, after CrossFit started, actually. It was a point where I loved CrossFit. I started getting into competitions, but I still wasn't into nutrition at all. I didn't much care about nutrition. I thought you can get big, jacked, and enjoy fitness while drinking beer. And yeah, you can. If that's your type of thing, you can be very fit doing that. But at the same time, I didn't feel good. I didn't feel how I felt fitness would make you feel. And I was like, some feels like it's missing here. And I was doing CrossFit. I was winning competitions. I was doing really well. And it got to the point where I was like, I started feeling unfulfilled again. And I had quit. I got into entrepreneurship. I gave up my 9 to 5, and I was doing school, and I was working a full-time business with a car rental business, which I was able to build up to make enough money to quit Starbucks, which was my entire goal. And I was very excited for this. And it was, oh man, like I'm doing it. I'm creating this life that I always wanted. And I didn't know much about business. I jumped into it not knowing much. And I told myself, I will give myself 15 years to learn this thing. I'm not going to quit no matter how hard it gets. If I have to restart businesses, that is fine. But I want to do it till the time I'm done. And it's going to become my new passion. And I knew that everyone that I've seen that was successful, they always started their own business, but they always learned from people that were where they wanted to be. And that was the thing that stuck out to me, is I knew that I could not do it by myself. And I knew I needed people that knew about the industry that I was trying to get into. And mine it was a very general, I just wanted to become an entrepreneur and make a lot of money so that way I can live the life that I wanted to live. And I wasn't into like drinking, smoking, things like that. My thing was more so getting my family into a very nice neighborhood, being able to have dinners together, being able to free up time to create businesses. And I'm a very big cigar guy. I love smoking around a fire pit and just smoking cigars, talking about stories. And I feel like big opportunities and also amazing memories are created around the fireplace. And that was one of the things, is when I started fitness, I didn't want to be a coach. And then it just so happened that I met somebody, and he had asked me if I can coach him. He was like, dude, I see your mindset. I see what your body looks amazing. Like, teach me. And I was like, I'm sorry, man. Like, I don't coach, and I don't want to. And he's like, come on, dude. Like, why not? Like, you have the knowledge for it, and you talk about it all the time. I was like, because I don't feel like you have the same grit as me. I don't feel like anyone can be this disciplined. And he was like, well, like, let me just try it. So we started working, and I was like, all right, but you got to show. He asked me to show up at 5 a.m. every morning. And I was like, okay, well, here we go. And we started working out, and he didn't miss a day. He didn't miss a day. And I was like, okay, he's taking it serious. But 3 months have went by, and he started at 225 pounds, and he dropped all the way down to 180 pounds, not even changing his nutrition, just working out. And at that point, I was like, okay, like, you're dedicated. I was like, you're killing it. And we finished our morning workout that day, and it was, I want to say it was August. I believe it was August 1st. We went outside. We just finished our 5 a.m. workout. The sun was coming up, and we were walking towards his car. I was like, man, like, you're killing it. I'm proud of you. We had just did weigh-in, and he was like, dude, like, he turned around and just started crying. And I was like, you good? And he was like, yeah, like, you don't know what you did to me. Like, you saved my life. And on top of that, you saved my marriage and my relationship with my kids. And I was like, oh man, like, I didn't know that. And he had said, yeah, I was addicted to cocaine, and this is kind of my new drug. And I was like, oh my, like, and then it started making me tear up. It always kind of makes me emotional when I talk about it too. It's like, man, like, that was what my purpose is. And I knew at that point, like, I wanted to help people for the rest of my life. And I was like, if I can make that big of an impact on somebody and be able to have the same change that fitness did to me, have it happen to other people too, and bring up the best version of themselves, I would be able to feel fulfilled, and I live the best version of my life I could possibly live. And I had started coaching, and at the start, it wasn't easy. You always get told, like, you don't have certifications, you don't have this, you don't have that, you don't have the knowledge. And I was like, but I have proof that my methods work. And I had to go and get certifications, and I had to go and do all this. And sooner or later, I started getting more passionate, learning how to coach. And then people started listening and asking for tips. And then I knew I wanted to go to the next level. And that's where I met a guy named Wes Watson. And I have been watching him for a long time. And he's a mentor, and also mindset, fitness, and nutrition coach as well. And he teaches people how to make a business out of their passion. And it wasn't a cheap thing. And I knew that good mentors are going to cost a pretty penny. Why? Because they're already where you want to be at. And they're going to be paying, their time is expensive. And I did a 3-month sign up with him. And we had our first phone call. And I remember that was where everything changed. And he said, you're never going to be successful unless you create the person you truly admire. And he called it the undeniable man, becoming the undeniable man, to where your habits create this undeniable person that no matter everything you do, people say yes and everything attracts to you. And he was like, you have to work harder on yourself than you do on work. And he was like, when you do that, everything's attracted to you. And that's where Triple V came from. And I had started the business. I started getting clients. By the way, it's Latin for I came, I saw, I conquered. And that's the whole motto. That's why I name it that. And it's like, that's the whole method.
It was like a Pitbull song.
Yeah. And that was the whole theory behind it. Is like, every time I come and see something, I conquer it, no matter how hard it is. And I want other people to have that same vision and that same method. And we started working together with clients, and we gave them that method. And every time we get on a phone call for their onboarding, the first thing we tell them is we tell them that phrase, and we say, you came, you saw it, and now you're about to conquer it. And we're going to do it together. And that's my whole method behind VENI, VIDI, VICI, is we give you the methods to create the person, not only nutrition and fitness, but we create an entirely different person. And all it is changing the mindset. Once you change your mindset, you create the body you want, you create the life you want, you get the job you want, you get the relationships you want, and everything just starts to happen. And you're fueling the body with good nutrition and moving the body. And then you start to whirl up your cognitive abilities. Your mind starts to work, and you start to get rid of that brain fog. You start to wake up with fulfillment instead of, oh, I got to wake up and do this again. It's more so you wake up and you say, dang, like, let's go help these people. Let's go kill the day. Let's go crush this workout. Things like that. And I'm not a big positive thinker, positive talk. By all means, like, you can do that. I'm not a big believer in it. I think just get into it. I think I'm a big believer in negative talk. Stop talking negative to yourself and get rid of the negative talk. And then you won't have anything but good things to say about yourself. I was like, but one of the things is people always get a negative thought and you can't change your thoughts. You have to deal with them. Just let them come and let them go away. Don't let them phase you. When you give that thing focus and when you give it the energy, it starts to grow bigger. But when you give it no thought, no energy, no vibration, it can't do anything. It stays stagnant. So don't give those thoughts that energy. And that's one of the biggest things that we focus on is the mindset. We've had multiple transformation. I had a massive transformation. Many people, the same person actually came back to me, and the guy that I helped out, and he came back and we started working again. And this time he's down to 175 pounds, got his abs popping now. But not only that, his business is growing. And that's the thing about nutrition and fitness. And it's a big proponent when you build what's the term? When you build that man where you can never get told no, when everything's attracted to you, then you don't really have to work that hard. When you work so hard on yourself that you don't really have to work to attract things to you. When you create the body, when you create the mind, when you create the soul, the relationships, and you work so hard on yourself, there's no work that needs to be done outside of you. It all just gets done for you. And that's the key perspective that we try and teach here is you have to create the man that you admire inside and out, and then everything, and you have to give that person to the world. And there's so much you have inside of you.
Yeah. So I'm going to say this. Your story is going to grow and grow and grow. I have no doubt that this is just the beginning of a long journey. And I know you'll do more and achieve more things just by listening to you in the last 40 minutes. And, the fact that you've taken the time to invest in yourself, the fact that you were able to help someone transform their life, and first you doubted it, but you went through it, and you saw the results, and that's another motivation. And there's a feeling for that. The fact that we're doing this talk right now is going to touch some people, and the fact that we know that potentially someone going to be benefiting from it, it just gives you that nice vibe, right? And that's the thing. So you're doing things, but first you love what you're doing. Second, it works because it changes dynamics, and you are trying to do it around, again, fitness, nutrition, and mindset, which is, if you're healthy physically, mentally, and I love it. By the way, you're the first one who kind of define positivity through negativity. The way you do it is the other way around, right? Like we always say, think positive, don't think negative. But what you said is like, let that negative thought come in, but then ignore it, which is just another way to look at it. But I like the angle because at the end of the day, it's just another way to think about it, right? But it makes sense too. The fact is, you're right. Negative thoughts on they're gonna come to you. You're not gonna run away from them. But the idea how you deal with them, do you kind of nourish them, or you just kind of like immediately eliminate them, right? That's what you do. So it's a different concept in the way the approach is different, yet the results are the same. So you are pushing positivity, but to ignore negativity, which is a very smart way to look at it. So thank you for doing it. I'm telling you, I've talked to a lot of people. This is the first time I see it, from that angle. But so again, I know we have a hard stop, but I really, really admire your story, and definitely it is a story of resilience, of ambition, of determination, and it, like I said, this is not going to end here. You're going to continue doing what you're doing, and you're going to grow this business. And I love what you said about business. It's not easy. But you have to have the longevity is there. You have to be able to know that this is not going to be, it's a marathon, right? And you're not going to give up on it. And if it doesn't work, you're going to make another one work, and you're going to continue until the end. And you're right. Best things happen to people who are entrepreneurs who make things. There's nothing wrong about working and doing stuff. It has a purpose. You got to pay the bills, of course. But the idea is, if you can get into this world, and by the way, you have the advantage of age. So God bless you, man, and many years to go, and you have that opportunity. And by the way, there's no time frame. Anytime, any age, you can start a business. Anytime you can be successful. Many success stories happen at a later time. There are some late boomers. That's all there is. But if you can start early on, why not? You now the technology, everything is available. So you can make things. So again, I am literally, first of all, I'm honored as well to have you here, and really I'm learning from you as well. And I learn every day from people, and it's amazing. Every time you hear a story, there's learning lessons from there, and there's plenty that we picked up today. But I know that this is going to continue. Now, my question to you is, how do you use your services? Is it only physically they have to be with you, or you can work with them remotely?
It's all online. So right now we're actually in the process of making a funnel, not a website, but more so where you can click on it. It's going to have my link, and then you fill out a questionnaire, and then I would get back to you personally. You can DM me on Instagram. I actually have it's mostly a DMing on Instagram, and I have a Facebook group that I give out all my resources for free. How to lose weight without going to the gym, how to meal preps, meal plans for not where you can eat those unhealthy foods that you love, and you don't have to give that up, but you can still get the physique you want, and you can still look the way you want to look without giving those foods up, with moderation, of course. But yeah, you can get in contact with me. It's mostly, everything is online. I do all my coaching online. I coach personally at a CrossFit gym in person. If you guys ever do want to do that, that's a whole different story. I never charge for that. In person is totally different, but online, I do coach mostly online with clients.
So, which means it's open to everyone that's willing to get into your system and learn your way and make a transformation. And frankly, listen, folks, there's a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of programs, a lot of things, whatever suits you, but try out, Dave's, formula, because I think it's a different perspective. It's not new, but it's unique. That's the difference, right? You have your own signature into it, and it's got your personal story behind it that backs it up, and you have the successes since you started. So again, There will be a link to your Instagram so people can actually, check you out and get in connection with you. I know we're really crunched in time, otherwise I'll extend this further, but any last words of wisdom to share with our audiences today?
Yeah, so I think the one thing that I love to tell people is the story of the Chinese farmer. It's a short story, but basically the concept is the Chinese farmer had a bad harvest. All the town came to him and said, "Oh, that must be horrible." He said, "Maybe." Then all of a sudden there was a massive rain and all his crops grew back and more. And people were like, "Oh, that's great." And he was like, "Maybe." Then his son was plowing the fields and he broke his foot and all the town came and said, "Oh, that's horrible." He said, "Maybe." And then the army service came to recruit people. And he said they said they couldn't recruit his son because his foot was broken. And everyone was like, "That's amazing." He's like, "Maybe." We never know why things happen in life. And I think that's why we should never give up. Times get so hard and we look at it and say, "Oh, why is this happening to me? It's so hard." But I think the one message I can say is no matter what happens, just don't give up and you are promised to win. As long as it takes. There have been people doing this for 15, 17, 20 years, and they're just now seeing success. But they didn't give up, and that's why they were rewarded. And that's the key to success. And it's a proven method. No matter how hard things get, if you just stick with it, you will win. It might seem like you're not winning in the moment, but there's bigger things happening behind the scene that you can't see. That would be my message to everyone.
By the way, I'm gonna absorb that, because you know what? There are times in anything where you feel that you want that energy, and you just give me that pump again. So I got me a nice little, shot dose of positivity here and real pump. So I'm actually excited. So thank you for that, man. And again, you're right. Never give up. That's the mistake that most of us make. I've made that mistake myself. At a couple of opportunities where I gave up too soon. I learned not to do that. But you're right. The lesson is, as long as you're in it, you're in the game. The minute you get out of the game, you're out of the game. You stay in the game for as long as it takes, and it will eventually. You just have to tweak things. But again, you have to commit from day one that it's not going to be easy. If you understand that before you engage, then you're, like you said, you're in for the long run. This is not going to be a quick thing. And that's all there is. So thank you so much for that advice. I think that advice, listen, you've given more wisdom today than many people can give in years. So thank you for that. And, and good luck, man, for the work you do. And I know we're probably going to have more of these discussions. I do want to bring you back, so, because there's plenty more things that we can talk, man. All right. Well, listen, I know you have to go. So thank you so much for being with us today and for the insights. And it's a lovely story and a lot of insights and, real good nuggets here that we can apply in real life. Thank you. Of
course. I appreciate you for having me on, man. It means a lot.
Oh, my pleasure. And so there you are, folks. We had a great time with David here. And so listen, we'll be talking soon, folks. New day, new show, new topic. I'm Hurricane H. Bye for now.
There's a lot of talk all over the internet these days about the remarkable benefits of carbon-60, and baby boomers are especially excited about it. Whatever generation you're in, if you want more energy, better health, and a boost in vitality, we invite you to try Greska's Carbon-60, a stunning development in free radical destruction. Being much smaller in size than conventional antioxidants derived from fruits and vegetables, it is far more bioavailable to quickly mend the toxin-crippled cells in your body. Greska's Carbon-60 is the only C60 product that is made without the use of undesirable solvents. The only one. Greska's Carbon-60 was developed by a brilliant NASA carbon scientist, and 95% report positive results from this Nobel Prize-winning technology in just 4 days. Visit c-60.com. That's c-60.com, or call 720-600-6040.